Hi friends, welcome back to Dysfunction Exposed. This is season 4, episode 5, and I'm gonna jump right back in where I left off in the last episode because I'm still in the office. And it wasn't like the office you've seen on TV. No, it was fucking scandalous. This place was fucking scandalous. There's a lot of different characters when you've got over 1,000 people working in one place. And I'm going to jump back to the Christmas do scenario because this is kind of where things shifted and cemented for me a little bit. So over the space of a year or so, no, actually, I'm telling a lie because I started there in November, so I would have gone to the first one and not really thought anything of it and was just kind of small fish, big pond scenario. It was the second year because at this point, I'd kind of got to know people and I knew the dynamics and I knew where everyone sat and which tables they sat at. So it's the second Christmas do we're jumping back to. And this company did it big. They've got a lot of money to throw. They're a bank. Of course they do. They have money, so let's throw money at it. And they gave us a good time. That is not to be disputed. There was alcohol in abundance. It was everywhere. Turn your back, someone's saying, do you want a drink? If you're looking on the table, there's multiple bottles of wine. Like, you're all getting absolutely hammered and eating this nice food and you're gonna have a good time. And young, naive me got a bit too pissed. Off all that free booze. How could you turn down that opportunity? It was there. It was just there. So naturally, I'm young, I'm stupid. I'm going to drink as much as I can. And I end up making a bit of a fool of myself, to be honest. Because in my drunken stupor, I didn't realise I was talking to a big wig in this scenario. But like I say, I just treat everyone as they come. Because you shit the same way as me. As far as I'm concerned, you're the same as me. No better, no worse. We're just fucking people. That's my level. I can't believe I did this because it's so fucking embarrassing. But I did it. I was a bit pissed and I started talking to this older gentleman. And me being flirty little me, hi Scorpio, I was like, oh, you're a bit of a silver fox, you, aren't you? But someone in his management had clocked this conversation and they weren't as pissed as me. They can't be because they have to maintain the image. I didn't have anything to hide. I'm at the bottom of the food chain. Take me as I am. But they're still protecting that reputation. So of course you can't get too leery. You can't have that one too many because if you make a fool of yourself, oh, everyone's going to know about it. And I don't give a shit. I'll take it. But me calling this man a silver fox, I didn't realise was such a big deal at the time. He was just an attractive older man to me. It is what it is. See what you see. And like the annual poem that the fucking CEO or whoever he was decided to publicise mentioned that comment, and that was it. That was it. I was on the radar for saying that one thing. And I'm like, why is this such a fucking big deal? When I've got management on the other side fucking off his wife and having an affair with a 20-year-old in the office, that's okay. He can do that and get no repercussion. But I call someone a silver fox and I'm hot topic. Or maybe it was a weird scenario because I wasn't the most conventionally attractive, but I was ballsy enough to say it. Never actually thought about that, but I was still very big at the time. Maybe if that had come from one of the more desirable women, it wouldn't have been mocked quite as much. But that's what I got. Not arsed. Not arsed. So with all that being said, I'd come onto a fair man's radar. And me and my friend at the time, we were close. We did everything together. We were in each other's pockets constantly. And he'd taken a bit of a shine to her, which is where this gets icky. Icky as fuck. Because this man's in his 50s and my friend's 19. I'm only 19, 20 at the time. But I still had a lot more life experience. I wasn't the quickest in those situations because of the lack of self-awareness. But I could still see what was going on. I could still clock everything. And I don't even know how this started. I think it started because he slid into her emails in a very flirtatious manner. And because we were joined at the hip, it wasn't long before I knew about it. So, this turned into a 3-way dirty secret. Because this man, in his position of power, was, what I can now say, was grooming me and my friend. Because he took our phone numbers. He would ask us for sexually explicit images. He would ask us to do things of a sexual nature with each other and send him the evidence. And foolishly, so fucking naively, because the attention was very new and it was coming from a different calibre of human being, idiot young me was like, yeah, this is fun. This is fun for everyone involved. We're all having a great time here. And in the moment, yeah, seems like fun, seems like a great time. As soon as you remove yourself from that situation and look at it for what it actually is, it's fucking vile. It is disgusting. And when I was prepping up what I'd talk about in these episodes, I think it's taken me a solid 2-3 months to try and remember this man's name. And I'm not going to say it, because I don't need to. I know the truth. My friend knew the truth. We know what we experienced. I've still got some of the fucking evidence, because it's just been on my phone since day go and I've just updated my phone. So it's all still there. It all still exists. But I don't need to do anything with it apart from tell my truth. Because that was a man abusing his power. That's all that was. You're a fucking disgusting human being. And we should have never put you on that pedestal in the first place. That was what was so vile about that situation when I have to look back at it. Because at the time it seemed so innocent. It just seemed like we were just messing about and just taking dirty pictures. Like, we're young girls. Everyone goes through sexually explicit phases. I'm not the first one to do this. This has been around since the dawn of time. It's just we didn't have phones to document it. And half half of me is like, I wonder how far he got up the corporate ladder. Just openly being a shitty human being. Because we'd already watched him. Everyone in the office had seen him do it. We'd seen his character. He left his wife, had an affair with a considerably younger woman, and no one ever knew. On the sideline, he was doing this with me and another woman because it was a dirty secret. It was such a dirty secret that it almost became blackmail. Because it was, you say shit, I'll show 'em. And what sits around that fear? Shame. Oh my God, I can't have someone else see me in a vulnerable state because I made the wrong decision. Fuck no. That's self-preservation. And I can only look at that as matter-of-factly now because I've been sat on it for over a decade. Sorry, I've got a really itchy nose. I've been sat on it for over a decade. And that situation, I think, is why I get so weirded out and triggered. If I see a weird age gap, in a relationship, I automatically think there's an imbalance of power. And it's not to say that there is. It's not to say that everybody's like that. But my experience with it put me on autopilot. That was the default trauma response going forward. And it's only recently that situation has cropped up with me again. Not personally, I was observing a situation and I bugged out. I genuinely bugged the fuck out because I was like, what are you doing? And I'm strong enough to articulate it now that I said it to the people involved. I was like, it seems a bit weird to me. And it took me 4 or 5 weeks later to really process that wasn't on them. That isn't theirs. They shouldn't be holding that. Why am I trying to make them feel some type of way when that was my trauma response to this horrific situation that should never have fucking happened, you absolute piece of shit. But now I get to talk about it. And that's going to have more impact. I don't need to lay down all the dirty details. But if someone else hears this that's been through it and goes, actually, maybe I should look at that situation differently, because you might be holding a lot of guilt and shame for the actions that you made or that I made as a younger person. I can't blame myself for that forever. That was never mine to blame myself for. I was a young girl being manipulated by a man who's clearly done this before. And no one else is picking up on it. And we're keeping hold of it tight to save ourselves. We're keeping this to ourselves because we know, push comes to shove, you two were just being little slags, weren't you? Were we? Were we? Ask yourself. Because that isn't a decision that I can make for anyone else. I can put my stamp on it and own it in a way that serves me. But that's the whole point of why I want to talk about it. So you can potentially look at other situations you've been in and experienced, and you're still holding trauma from. But you've never heard it from this side. So this is why we do this. But pushing that to the side just for a second, because that situation I was in for at least 6-8 months. Until I pulled myself back, I went, nah, I'm fucking done with this. I didn't say anything, I didn't do anything, I just fizzled. I just completely fizzled. And I'd been working at this place for about 3 years at the time. And I broke. My mental health, or whatever fucking excuse for mental health you wanted to call it, it was gone. I'd started to devalue myself and becoming mentally stagnant because even though I have all the knowledge and I know exactly what's going on in every single department, I'm capable of doing the job, nobody likes my attitude. And it wasn't that I had an attitude, I had an opinion and I was quite assertive with it. But that's the thing in corporate situations. Your face doesn't fit, they'll push you back. How in the fresh fuck am I supposed to keep going mentally when I'm doing the same thing over and over and over and over? Is that not torture? Because it started to feel like it. I was so miserable. I was fucking miserable. There's no other way. I was depressed as fuck. As fuck. And whilst I was in that job, my dad was still at home. I'm still living at home. He'd come back from Cyprus for a bit. The money had run dry. And even though I'm making a decent amount of money for a girl of my age, he was still taking 500 quid a month off me for board. What fucking parent takes 500 quid a month off the kid? You're automatically putting them on the fucking back foot, you dipshit. Like, why would you take that much money off someone when they're living in your property? It's your child. They didn't choose to be here. They're still trying to do what they're trying to do. But how can I save for a future when I'm funding you? Riddle me that. I can't. I can never get that sense of independence because I have a moral obligation to this man. When do I? What is my obligation? As a child, in a parent-child dynamic, what is my obligation? If any. Do I owe you shit? No. I appreciate bills have to be paid, so I'll do my bit. But when I look at how much he took off me now, I'm like, fucking hell, you ripped me off. Because when I'm talking to other people my age, they're saying, the parents are like, yeah, just give me like 50 quid a week just to feed you. Like, I've been paying your rent since birth because that's what we do. But then the power dynamic shifts. Why am I responsible for making sure the bills are paid? How did that become my pressure to hold? Should it have been like that? Is that the way I should have learnt that lesson? I don't agree. But that's the way it was. And when I say I broke, I tried to unalive myself while I was still working at that space. Because I'm like, I can't go on autopilot anymore. It's ruining me. And everyone just seems so normal about it. Like, everyone's happy about it. Sorry, what? I could never comprehend it. I could never just be told that this is the way it's going to be. But what if it shouldn't be like that? But that's the rule book and it ain't going to change regardless of your opinion. That doesn't give me less of a right to say it. Okay, you might disagree with it, and I won't hold that against you, but hear my point at least. Let me speak. And I think that's another thing as a young woman that people choose not to like. They don't want to hear you speak because your perspective will shatter the illusion. And that was never my issue. But it became my issue. That's where mentally I broke down because you're being pushed back down and you're being told you're wrong. When you know you're not wrong. It's just that someone has a different opinion on how things should be going, and they can't see past that. So I try to unalive myself. I break down. I go on the sick for quite a while because I didn't want to take myself to work. I couldn't get out of bed at that point. And I thought, maybe something's got to give. So I start trying to figure that out and what that's going to be. And that is all I'm leaving you with for today's episode. This has been season 4, episode 5. Stay tuned. The last in the series is coming.